Hey everyone, this is Rocky from WheelerandChess.com, and I've got a fun puzzle for you here today. This is a crazy position that I just got in a game. My opponent played the King's Gambit, which is usually just fireworks right from early on in the game, and he sacked about just about every piece he could, and he's basically dead lost here. So it doesn't really matter too much, I guess, how black finishes the game here. Well, you still got to be a little bit careful, but it's pretty much out of danger. Well, I would say definitely out of danger, but in situations like these, sometimes you're not up quite as much material. I mean, here I'm actually up three minor pieces for what, two pawns. Those pawns are doubled anyway, and I should be able to protect my king. So here it's not so hard, but a lot of times in a game you might just be up one piece for one pawn or even one piece for two pawns. And it can be tempting just to simplify. I make this mistake all the time. And here in this game I just kind of played for that strategy, just to try to get the pieces, just try to get the queens off the board, and then he would resign, and that's basically what happened. But if you have more forcing continuations, it's a good habit to get into, because sometimes you make one slip up and then all of a sudden you have to give some of the material back, and maybe you're not even better. And you have to remember, sometimes, if you gave up one pawn or two pawns for a piece, if you blunder into a tactic or something and you don't end up giving the piece back, sometimes you don't even get a pawn back, and then you're just down a couple pawns. So that's happened to me plenty of times, so you don't want to do that. So if you want to treat this position like a puzzle, it's black to move, and black actually has a forced checkmate in 8 moves, and you can try to take a look and see if you can find, what the starting move is, and then why that move's correct. Because it's a little funny sometimes, these checkmate puzzles. I mean, you know, sometimes you think of a forcing move as just being a check. It's not always just a check. Sometimes it's just a move that has no solution for your opponent, and that's kind of what happens here. So I just gave you a little hint. Put this put this video on pause and see what you can do. Okay, so first I'll show you what I played, and then I'll show you the solution. But you might be wondering how we even got to this crazy position, so I'll just quickly show you. So my opponent played the King's Gambit, and I had tried the Adelaide counter gambit in the first game, and I kind of got blown out. So I went back to this Fisher defense. Well, I don't know if it's still called the Fisher defense when white plays what's called the Bishop's Gambit, when the bishop comes out before the knight comes out, but it kind of transposes. So the idea is that black sets up this little sort of haven here for his king and tries to get castled as soon as possible. I think actually knight c6 might be more accurate there, but I'm not sure, because a lot of times white won't have his knight on c3 so that he can play pawn to c3, and that keeps an eye on this pawn, because in some variations, like if you pin this knight or this knight moves, sometimes you have two pieces on this pawn and you can take it with check, and white doesn't want to lose this center pawn, because a lot of times these center pawns help put some pressure on the black's position and open up some lines for the rooks or diagonals for the bishop. So that's why a lot of times you'll see this knight isn't developed here so early. Okay, so white goes for this kind of continuation. Here I'm actually, I think I didn't make the best move. I kind of instinctively played g4 here, but the computer wants to play knight c6, which is, just staying calm and collected. It's a little too crazy to look at all these lines here. I have to look at them a little more myself, but the idea here is that if he moves the knight, like over here to h4, you're going to be able to play f3, and then you have these like really cramping solid pawns here for basically the entire game. And if you can survive into the end game, you're almost assured to win, just because basically the king's gonna have to stay over here trying to guard these pawns. He'll basically never be able to move his pieces or anything, so you just gobble up other pawns and win the end game. And part of the point of playing this d6 and h6 moves is so that the knight can't move to any of these squares over here or here and start to cause you problems. So the knight actually has to go to a really bad square, like h4, and even here the knight has trouble coming in to do something useful here, because you still have your pawn on f7, at least for now. So what a lot of white players do here is they'll sacrifice the bishop with the idea of opening up the f-file and just getting a lot of pieces on here. So he's got the bishop's already pointing towards f7. If he can get rid of this pawn, we'll see in the game sort of what it can look like here. So this is the sacrifice. Now what white should play is queen takes f3 here. So then he's potentially got 3 pieces piled up on f7. And it could be something like this where black would probably could even castle here. I think is what Fischer recommended, but actually bishop b6 is probably better. That's what the computer wants us to recommend here. Just trying to get a piece in the way here. And again, it's a little bit crazy, but in some of these variations, the king will kind of walk over here or switch places with the queen somehow, depending on how the moves play out. Anyway, you end up, defending a lot of these. In these Fischer defense, you end up defending a lot. So, okay, well, we didn't get to this because he went totally maniacal and sacked everything with the kitchen sink here. So, let's see, he just already sacked his knight, right? And instead of taking this first, he took here on f7. Now this is kind of tricky. Like, I couldn't remember if I was supposed to take this or not. In the end, I took it, and it turns out this is the correct move. But you have to take the material, partially because you need this compensation for your king safety, but also the light squares are really weak, and it's hard to get your bishop to a good defensive square. So you just need to take it. So he's got to use a move here now, and this is part of the problem. Is that black has basically a winning move here, which is just king g8, and it's pretty amazing. But it feels like even with the sacrifices, you should be in a lot of trouble, but you're really not. You can even walk your king over here to h7 in some lines, and just slide your rook over, and it does take a little while to get your pieces out, and you have to be really careful. Like, if you play one slow move, like maybe you play the knight to d7 and block your bishop, that could be a critical tempo, so you have to really watch what your opponent's next moves are going to be, just to make sure that you develop as accurately as possible. So he went crazy again and sacrificed his third piece here. Here you have to be a little bit careful. I think if you probably don't want to take with the bishop here, because you're kind of blocking up your pieces a little more. At least with the rook, you can slide over for defensive purposes. Plus, you leave your bishop on this nice diagonal to take this with check. Actually, I wonder if you can even take that with check right away, but no, you don't want to take it with check, because then he would be able to slide back. So yeah, you have to take this, and these are basically just not sound sacrifices, but I think I've lost games like this. I've definitely lost games like this as black, actually. Almost in this exact line, but I didn't play the moves correctly back then. So anyway, here in the game, he does get this check in, but you can just slide over, and you're pretty safe. I mean, here, I'm not quite sure why he played this. I mean, he just sacked 3 pieces. Maybe he realized he didn't really have anything and he was frustrated, but the computer wanted to even take with check first. I think I just took this off. So again, it could be sort of an error in my head, but a lot of times I just try to simplify. So here again with check, I can't remember what I did in the game. Yeah, I did this in the game, yeah. So here, it looks a little bit crazy, but your king still manages to be safe, and he's running out of pieces here. Plus, these bishops are just monsters, so his king's not exactly safe either. Here, the computer wanted to play back to f6, but I think I just played here, just trying to get a tempo here. The computer just wants to trade here, but I mean, that's basically losing, so no human's going to do that. So I was just trying to get my pieces out, and yeah, I think he played over here. I took, takes, and then here we're in this position where we can take a look and see if you've already looked at this, the puzzle. So it's black to move. In the game, I just kind of played sort of a lazy move, queen e8, just to keep everything protected, try to trade queens. But he has a tempo gaining move here, and it looks like actually I'm going to lose this bishop. There's really no way to protect it, so that probably wasn't the best move. Probably just now have to try to get my rook out or something like that. But kind of almost predictably, I wouldn't say that I saw the variation, but once I saw that he moved back and I was going to lose the bishop, I was like, oh, he might take that. But as it turns out, oops. Let's see, what did he play in the game? Oops. Oh, okay, I played out. I'm sorry, out here. I think in the game. I mean, I saw that I was going to lose this, so I just wanted to try and get active, get my final pieces out, and say, okay, well, if he gets the bishop, I was still up a lot of material. So this isn't where I played. This is not where I played. I didn't play e7 here. Oh, I tried to trade again. That's right, okay. So here, what I meant was kind of predictably, he didn't take the piece. He tried to mate me, basically. Which, I mean, I can't totally blame him, because even if he takes this bishop, he still would have lost. But instead of taking this, he played this check. But actually, it's just probably really frustrating for him. But even with this other check with the rook here, you just drop back, and you've got enough defensive pieces here with the bishops. So we got into this position, and then I just played this check, and now he's got to basically give up. This is lazy too. I mean, it's probably better not to even trade the queens technically, like from a pure like brute force computer perspective. But from any human, like you just up 3 pieces here, you're gonna grab these pawns, so it's no biggie. And of course he resigned here. So so let's go back and see what better move I had, where I didn't have to necessarily lose my bishop or get into a potential perpetual check or mating net or something like that. Let's try to find the most forcing move here. And where do we go here? Okay. Okay, so instead of queen e8, the correct move here is actually queen takes. And now, like I said, this first move doesn't always have to be a check in a forcing sequence, but it's forced because the bishop or the rook is not only undefended, but there's really no way for him to defend it, with his queen. And if he doesn't defend it, then I'm just going to mate him basically in one move. Well, the queen can come back and block, so he's got to do something here. Like, I mean, obviously this is just mate in 2, right? So he can't do that, and obviously wouldn't let his rook get taken anyway. So where is he going to do? I mean, well, if he tries to just take this, you can just take back with the knight. Even taking with the pawn's okay, but taking with the knight's funny because the queen really has absolutely nowhere to go. I mean, there's actually no square to go to defend against mates, or even really to defend. The queen's actually trapped, except for maybe taking the c7 pawn. But of course that's mate, so it's just mate in 1. So this queen basically has to just give herself up and like go to f1 or something. So that's why it's forced there. So the rook can't take here, so the rook has to stay on the board. Try to defend maybe here. I can't remember where the computer wanted to go. e3, I think. And anywhere that the rook goes, it's still going to be in trouble. I mean, there's still too many threats here. So here you can just play your rook out, get your last piece in the game with tempo. Everything's protected. All your pieces are coordinated, and now you're just threatening to come up here. So I mean, probably the only thing that white can do is just slow this down by just taking the rook. I mean, if the queen goes anywhere, I mean, maybe you could try something like this. But I mean, still, what's going to happen here? I mean, mate's being threatened here, so the only way to protect this would be here, and so you can just basically slow this down. And that's check, so yeah, you have to take this first, and then you can mate. But all this, it's like mate in 8, mate in 7, mate in 6, but really it's like mate in 2. It's just that the white can just waste a few moves like a computer, just sacrificing everything. So this was the key move here, just to take on h4. And I mean, I saw that the pawn was hanging. I don't know. I just got lazy. But the lesson is you can still get in trouble even when you're up on a lot of material, especially when your king's not safe. So just got to be careful. Take your time, especially if you have some time on the clock, and look for a way to just like finish your opponent off and deal the fatal blow. So hopefully you had fun with that mating puzzle, and I'll see you around for the next video.